everybody, and welcome to the Mukbang Entertainment Headquarters. I'm your girl, Jessica Marie, and what it is that we do here on this channel is that we basically review movies and TV shows and other forms of entertainment and eat some amazing food. So, I just got out the shower. I just got done cooking and prepping, and then I had to wait for my son to go to sleep, and hopefully he stays asleep. But what we have here is some chicken wings. We've got green onions, carrots, bell peppers, celery, lettuce, and some jalapenos. I've got my soda, and we're going to have an orange vanilla Coke. So let's just open that up. Okay, so it's my first video, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited and I'm starving. So, the movie that we're going to be reviewing today is called What Lies Beneath. It stars Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford. So let me take a piece of this chicken. It looks so good. I'm sorry, you guys. That's good. Okay. I've got some spicy ranch and some blue cheese. I'm doing blue cheese. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Try spicy. Right. I'm not probably gonna eat all of this. But I am hungry, so I'm gonna eat a nice meal. Okay. So, the movie's called What Lies Beneath. It's starring Michelle Pfeiffer, in Harrison Ford. Right now it is available on Netflix, so I highly recommend it. It is PG-13, so if you want to watch it with the 13-year-old, I guess you can. It's good. Very cold. So she wakes up in the morning. She lives on the beach. Okay, so she's living her best life. Um, you know, she's got this beautiful home on the beach. And so she's waking up her daughter so that um, her daughter can basically get ready for college because her daughter's on her way to college. So she's waking her up telling her, you know, you gotta hurry up and make sure you're ready, and you know, so we can get this done. That's so good to me. So her daughter's like, okay. We can do that. So the mom is going downstairs to prepare breakfast. And her husband, Harrison Ford, comes up behind her. And he's like, I want to cook it. And she's like, I don't really want a quickie right now because I want it to last. It wasn't like she didn't want to have sex with him. She just didn't want to have rushed sex, I guess. So he's like, fine. I'm not going to get frustrated and irritated. Make you do something. That's good. So he goes and takes the dog on a walk. Fast forward, we get to the daughter at college. She's saying goodbye. She's having a hard time letting go. And I can relate to that because I'm that way. When I have to leave my family, my husband, or my parents when I was younger, I'll be very emotional. And even if I'm going for like a day or two, I'm just like, oh my God. So I could understand how she definitely felt leaving her, you know, saying goodbye to her baby. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she says goodbye. She tries to keep together, but she cries. When she gets home, her husband's like, you know, are you okay? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, you know, it's okay. You know, if you're not okay, because he was being understanding. And he's like, no, it's fine. So they decide to have sex that night, and she said, I'm looking forward to focusing on me, focusing on us, and just having fun together and be empty nesters and all that. So, all of a sudden, she's alone in her house, and weird stuff starts happening. Doors are opening. She's seeing weird little twitches around the home. You know, her front door keeps being open. So finally, let me not skip. Go ahead. So then, she's got these neighbors next door, and she hears them fighting. And the neighbors are fighting, but then later on that night, they're having sex. And then later on, in the midst of her trying to figure out what's going on with her her house, because weird stuff is happening. Like I said, her front door is opening. So in the midst of that, she sees her neighbor in her backyard crying, and the woman, they just moved in like probably 3 weeks ago. And so she sees her in the backyard crying, and she's like trying to say, hello, are you okay? And the lady is like not responding at all. And then she's talking about she doesn't know how to get away, and the passion inside her. When she's talking to the lady, and then when her husband shows up, she's like, oh, I have to go. Forget everything I said. And so Michelle's like, okay. So after that, Michelle Pfeiffer tries to go over to the neighbor's house and, give a little, what do they call it, housewarming gift. But no one ever answers the door. Ever. Every time she goes over there. So she comes back to her home, and her friend is on her porch. And her friend's like, hey, how are you doing? And she was just checking on her because she knew that her friend, Michelle Pfeiffer, was alone because her daughter just went off to college. This is really good. My husband's going to have the rest of this, whatever I don't eat. And I know he's going to just tear it up. So her friend comes by and she's like, how you been? And I guess what they're hinting at when her friend comes by is that it's the anniversary of an accident she was in, I guess a year ago. And so her friend's like, well, how are you doing with that date coming up, pretty much here? And she's like, I'm fine. Her friend's like, are you a little rattled? Are you a little nervous because of, what happened to you? And Michelle Pfeiffer's like, well, I'm a little rattled. And she's like, okay. That's normal. You're human. So after that, her friend leaves her some tea. I guess her friend recently got divorced, and so she had this really nice bomb car. I don't know what kind of car it was, but it was very cute. It was like some kind of sport car, and so that's what she had. And so her friend takes off and she's alone in the house. And she goes to the bathtub, and the bathtub has water in it. And the bathtub has water in it, and so she's like wondering how that even happened, but she goes to unplug the water, and she sees on the side of her, in the reflection of the water, another woman. This woman looks very similar to Michelle Pfeiffer, but she has green eyes, and I think Michelle Pfeiffer has blue or gray eyes. Guys have to try it like that. Next time I'm gonna make my vinaigrette. It's so much, it's so good. So, excuse me. So, she's telling her husband, I saw this girl, I saw a girl. Her husband's like, you're tripping. So, he sends her to go see, you know, a shrink, pretty much. So, she goes to him, and you know, she's nervous, like, I think anybody would be, especially under this circumstance, for why she's there. She's not there to, like, I don't know, work out her marriage or anything. She's there because she might be crazy. So, with that being said, she's talking to him, and he's like, I don't think you're crazy. And finally she says, I think there's a ghost woman in my home. And he's like, well, what do you think? She's like, what do you think I should do? He's like, well, try to contact her. Try to make contact. Now, this was a black therapist. And I was thinking, is that normal? Do therapists tell you to seek, you know, out ghosts in your home? I would think they would have said to her, you know, are you sure that's what you saw? You know, are you mistaken, ma'am? He just acted like, oh, try to make contact with it. So, excuse me, you guys. So, she tried to make contact with it, and she does this little Ouija board seance with her girlfriend who came by. And they're joking around, and, you know, the candles start to flicker, but the dog comes in. So, nothing happened. So, I'm trying to think where we're going from there. So basically, after that, she goes to a party where, oof, my earring fell out. It's okay. She goes to a party where she's, you know, kind of being made, well, she's uncomfortable. Let's just put it that way. And earlier, because it's not really that deep and that important. But earlier she thought that the woman that was hunting her home was the woman next door, the neighbor who was arguing with her husband all the time and then having sex. And she thought it was her. She thought she had got killed. So she accused the husband, who I guess the neighbor husband worked at the college her husband worked at. So she accused him in front of everybody. And he was like, my wife isn't dead. And he's like, holds her right there. And then she's just kind of left looking kind of silly. So she's at this party and he's there. And so when he sees her and he's there with his wife, he sees her and he chokes his wife like, I'm killing her. And she just feels burnt. I thought that was funny because, you did accuse him and he wasn't, he didn't kill his wife. But so she's walking around the party and this older lady comes up to her and she says, are you doing okay? Because last time I saw you, I was just so concerned. You were such a wreck. And she was like, what do you mean? Now this is going back to the accident that happened a year ago that her friend was talking to her about. And she was like, well, you just looked like you saw a ghost or like you were just done. And she was like, I don't remember. She said, I remember breaking your crystal. And she was like, oh, it was nothing but glass. It wasn't anything fancy. It was, she said it doesn't matter. And she had forgotten that part of what took place. I'm guessing she forgot because of the accident. She plowed into a tree going 80. So I'm sure when she was recovering in the hospital, she might have lost the memory of what had taken place right before the accident. So this old lady tells her this and she's like, oh, I forgot about that. And so continuing on, she realizes, she starts to remember everything and this girl starts to reach out to her. So she finally goes and she goes to find the girl because the girl started writing all over her computer. The ghost girl is who I'm talking about. She's losing it in her home. So she finally says, okay, I'm going to go do some digging and I'm going to find where this girl lived. And so she finds her house. She sees the home and the mom lets her see her daughter's bedroom. And the girl looks very identical to Michelle Pfeiffer, very similar. And so she goes into the room and there's pictures and stuff. And there was a lock of hair and it was her hair. So she decided to take that because she said, I could do another seance. So she calls herself doing another seance in the bathroom alone with the lock of hair. And the girl kind of possesses Michelle Pfeiffer. And then Harrison Ford comes home. And okay. So Harrison Ford comes home. And he's like, what's going on? And she's being like aggressive and kind of freaky. And she's like, hey, professor. I'm like, okay. This doesn't seem like the Michelle Pfeiffer that we've come to know on the movie so far. So he's like, I guess you're not mad at me anymore, because she was a little irritated with him because he wasn't believing her as much as she would have liked him to. So he starts getting aggressive sexually with him, starts ripping his shirt off, biting his lips, being very rough. And he's like, that's too rough. And she was like, since when? And so what we come to find as she's doing this sexual stuff is that Michelle Pfeiffer is being possessed by the ghost girl. I think her name was Madison. I think that was her name. So Madison's possessed Michelle Pfeiffer. And so basically, he's enjoying the little freaky moment that he's having. And then she says to him, I think she might be suspecting. And he was like, who? And then she leans into his face and she says, your wife. But when that happens, her face turns into the Madison girl. Like, she no longer, she didn't look like Michelle Pfeiffer. She looked like Madison. So, after that, Madison pops out of Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer is back there. Michelle Pfeiffer remembers everything that happened prior to the accident. It all hits her back like a flood. She says she came home that night and she saw her husband when she walked through the door in the mirror that stood in the hallway, and it basically faced him so where she could see him, and he was on his desk with Madison. That's what happened. So she witnessed her husband basically in the middle of an affair with this Madison girl. She was a student at the college. So she witnesses this. She jumps in her car. She takes off. She can't hardly breathe. Then she went to another party, like the party that she went to where the old lady asked her if she was okay. She remembered that after she saw that, she went to a party and the girl, Madison, was there staring at her. That's why she broke the glass, and that's why she raced off and got into an accident. It was all behind him and his affair. So when it all came flooding back to her in that moment, she was angry. She was like, get out. Get out now. And he didn't want to leave, which I could see my husband doing. He probably would not leave the home. So she had to leave. So she jumps in the car, she goes to her friend's house. And her friend confesses that I did happen to see your husband in a coffee shop. And he was sitting with the blonde. This is before the accident. We were sitting with the blonde. And she didn't think anything of it, so she was going to go say hi, she said. But then they started arguing, and the tone and the way the argument was happening made her stop and say, you know what, maybe I'm not going to approach him. And she was going to tell her friend, but a few days later, Michelle Pfeiffer got in that accident. And when she went to the hospital, Harrison Ford was there looking so concerned, and he was so just broken about his wife that she decided maybe I shouldn't say anything. You know, maybe maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe he's going to do right now, because this may not be the best time to try to be like, I'm revealing this adulterous husband to you right now. So Michelle Pfeiffer's like, okay. She's like, don't hate me. And she's like, I don't hate you. I'm not mad at you. You didn't do nothing. I mean, that's how I would have felt. I've been like, I wish you would have told me, but I get why it wasn't a good timing to tell me. So, you know, and at the end of the day, it is my business. So Excuse me. Whew. So basically, the husband ends up calling up the best friend while Michelle Pfeiffer's over there talking about this, and he calls her up and wants to talk. And Michelle Pfeiffer said, "Just call him and tell him I'll be there in the morning. I can't talk to him right now." So she shows up in the morning. He admits, it was a mistake. I would never do that again. We were just in a very bad place in our marriage at that time, and a lot of stuff was going on. He said, but I would never do that again. So she decides to forgive him, but she still believes that the ghost girl is hunting him and she's like, well, she must be dead if she's hunting us. And he's like, well, we don't know if she's dead. And she's like, well, she must be if she's hunting us. I mean, but they decided to go on a boat trip together, kind of trying to rekindle and patch up, which I understand. And so while they're out there, she finds a chest in the ocean. So she takes the chest home and she's like, she found a key earlier in her house. While all that weird stuff was happening in her house, she found this key somewhere in the floorboards. And she didn't know what it went to. But when she found this chest on the boat, she said, I wonder if this is going to fit. And sure enough, they opened up. All that girl's stuff was in there, in this little box chest. And she's like, you put her stuff in here. You were with her. And she basically was like, did you kill her? And he was like, no, I didn't. And she was like, well, and he said, well, I think he said she killed herself in their house, and he took her items and threw it in the ocean and got rid of her so that his life would be ruined. And so his wife was like, well, you have to call the police. We have to get that girl out of the water. And he was like, he picked up the phone and called the police. And he was like, well, I guess I better get dressed because they're going to be coming by. So hours went by, and Michelle Pfeiffer was like, no one's showing up. And she was thinking that to herself. So she was going to call the police herself. And when she did that, Harrison Ford attacked her. Full-fledged attack. So he's attacked her, and he injected her with some kind of medication that makes your body go numb. You're conscious and you can see, but you're numb. You have no control over your functions. And so he injects her with something like that. And I think it's something that he was creating in his lab based on where he works. So he puts her in the bathtub and he's filling it up, and she's just witnessing what he's doing. Her eyes are open. She can see everything, hear everything. She just can't move. And so he places her in the tub. He's filling up the tub. He calls up her friend and says, yeah, me and Michelle Pfeiffer, we got into a fight, and can you come over and check on her in the morning because I'm going to be working late at the lab. And so he's like preparing his little his alibi and everything. While he's filling the tub, he's telling Michelle Pfeiffer, you know, all I wanted was you. I wanted to have a little bit of marriage. I wanted to love you. I wanted you to love me. That's all I wanted. I'm like, well, you cheated, so. You wanted some other stuff too. And now you're killing me. So, somehow, while he's put up the tub, he notices that there's this necklace on her. He's like, what is that? You know, because like he knows he didn't give it to her. It's nothing he's seen before. And she's wearing the dead girl Madison's necklace that she found in the chest. And when he goes behind her neck to see what the pendant is that's sitting on the necklace, when she falls back into the tub, the Madison dead ghost girl face appears. And he gets startled, hits his head on something in the bathroom really bad, and he falls down. Michelle Pfeiffer is in the tub as it's slowly rising because it's still filling up, and she's trying to unplug it with her toe. It's one of those stopper type plugs, and then has a chain to it. So she's trying to pull the chain with her toe. Her toe is moving a little bit. Finally, she unplugs the water. From there, she gets out the tub and goes down the stairs to try to make her escape. Her husband somehow, he's on the floor in the living room at the bottom of the stairs, covering the house phone. So she's afraid to get near him to, you know, of course, be attacked. So she just grabs the car keys and cell phone and runs out the door. She jumps into her car and she realizes, darn it, I do not have my keys. I have my husband's keys. So she jumps into the truck that's carrying the boat. And so she drives off in that, and she's just trying to get away. And so she gets all the way to the bridge, and she's making the cell phone call to the police. And her husband, when she drove away, he jumped onto the back of it. So when she's in the middle of trying to call the police on the bridge, he breaks open the back window of the truck and starts choking her out. So she's driving all crazily, trying to escape. I'm like, my God, this man, he's doing this all for his money. All for his money, his lifestyle. He doesn't want to give that up. He's killed people. He's trying to kill his wife. But he still don't want to give that up. And so she sees the ghost girl in the road while they're swerving, and he's trying to choke her. And so she ends up swerving off, driving down until basically driving down into the ocean. And so she's heading down in there, and the car is slowly filling up with water. And she's like begging him, please don't kill me. You know, she said, think about our daughter, think about her, you know, the one we just sent off to college. And he just tells her, and he just pushes her head under the water. And as she's under the water, she looks and she sees the ghost girl. And the ghost girl comes out from her car that it was under the water. So this is where her husband placed this girl. He threw her under the same place that she happened to be with him right now, fighting for her life. So the ghost girl comes up, and he looks and he sees her, and he's startled. And Michelle Pfeiffer's able to get away, and the ghost girl grabs him and holds him under the water until he passes away. And then the ghost girl goes back down to the bottom, and it seems like she's at peace. Michelle Pfeiffer gets out of the car, out of the water, and at the end of the movie, she ends up going to the resting place of Madison. And that's pretty much how it ends. I found this movie to be very thrilling, very exciting. Great movie. Man, you just never know with people. You never know. People are doing all kinds of stuff. But it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. The movie that came out in the early 2000s. It's on Netflix right now. So, if you want to go check it out, you should. You can. And tomorrow, if you come back and you're joining me, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a movie review on Netflix again, and the movie is called Chloe. I believe this is a suspense, like thriller. I'm so full, you guys. I ate a nice amount of chicken wings. I don't know. I feel like I ate at least let me see. Almost 10 wings. I'm repeatedly eating. But anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope you have a good one. As you can hear, my son is waking up. So have a good one. Stay safe, stay blessed. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.